Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2025 and the first episode of the Kinvestor Report. I'm your host, Arlen Hansen. Today, we're diving into what we can expect from 2025 with a true veteran, Greg McCoach, editor of the Mining Speculator. For over 24 years, Greg has provided his subscribers with unique, insightful analysis for investors navigating the often volatile junior mining space. I second that. This interview is not an investment advice. I repeat, this is not investment advice. I'm not an investment advisor or financial planner. If Ken or myself has any financial interest in any companies mentioned in today's interview, it will certainly be disclosed. Don't be an idiot. Do your due diligence. Talk to your financial planner. If you like this video, give me a dopamine hit and tap that like and share button. Sharing is caring. And let's get right into this. Greg, thanks so much for joining me today. How are you?
We're all good, things are good here. Got my knee replaced. Glad that to
Yeah.
have it behind me. But yeah, pleasure to be here. You and I have been talking about getting together, doing this interview for quite a while, and hey, here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we did meet face to face for the first time at the Metals Investment Forum. You and I got in the business, 25 years ago, which we discussed. I think we tend to agree on a lot of the same things. So purposely, we're just going to fight today just for fun. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
And you've been at this for a very long time. And whenever I see faces kicking around this long, it means that you've got longevity and staying power. And that's not been easy, especially for newsletter writers and people on our side of the business for the last 13 years. Can you give us our audience just a little bit of a background on how you got in this industry, this crazy industry?
Yeah, no, if someone would have told me I'd end up being a newsletter writer in the Canadian mining space, years ago, I'd have looked at you as strange. I wasn't even a good writer when I first started. I had to upgrade my writing skills and I had to rush. I was taking courses, short courses at the Colorado School of Mines and going to the Nevada Geological Survey meetings, trying to get up to speed. But, I was so interested as an investor. I had been investing in these things. And after I had sold a commercial print and mail business I had for years, sold it to a bigger fish, I had money and I could take some time to figure out what I wanted to do. And I loved investing in these Canadian junior mining stocks. And somebody said to me, well, Greg, you should be a newsletter writer.
What's that?
And literally, I dove in. To be an expert at anything, I knew a lot about precious metals. That was
Mhm.
I knew a lot about it. I'd studied that. And so it was natural to drift into the Canadian precious metal mining shares. And so that's really what got me started. I mean, my first year, I think I had 55 subscribers, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And by 2007, six, I had 12,000 paid subscribers, right? But the newsletter business is a wicked vicissitude. I mean, it's so up and down. One minute I'm a rock star making
Yeah.
people money. They're paying off their houses. They think I'm the best thing since sliced bread. And then 8 months later,
You're dead to them. You're
I'm a
dead to
rat.
them.
I'm a gutter rat, sucking gutter water, right? That's the nature of this business.
Yeah.
It's so up and down crazy, right? But in it all, in the first 12 years, we were still making big money. Yeah, we'd have our down moments, but they wouldn't last that long.
Hmm.
And the last 13 years, I mean, it's been mostly bear market. And
Yeah.
we've witnessed this, all the big investors, all the big money has left this space. And so we're the last of us that are still standing. I mean, we're like dinosaurs, right? I mean, a lot of the newsletter writers I knew and worked with for years, they're all gone.
Yeah.
They're out of the
Yeah.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, 2025, maybe this is the year of change, right? So yeah, that would be good for all of us. But let's talk quickly about 2024. What surprised you most about 2024 and investing in junior stocks, or what did you learn?
Well, I mean, there's so many of the junior mining companies that have the right people, they're doing the right things for the right reasons, but the market's so bad that they use up their money and then it's so hard to raise money again for these really good juniors that have the goods, right? And really deserve to have a shot at drilling these projects off. And so that was a shock to me. I'd never seen it where there's always the scam artists in this business or any business, you know, you don't want to fund them, of course, but the real good guys, the mine finders that have done it over and over, where I've made money, I follow these guys, and to see them struggling and just say, hey, Greg, I don't know what to do. There's no interest for my financing, right? When in past years, there'd be no problem for a guy like that who has done it over and over again, right?
Yeah. Well, while you brought it up there, quickly, who are the right mine finders? Who are those guys in this market?
Well, you know, they're the Bill Sheriffs of the world, right?
Yep.
They're the Kevin Keoghs of the world. You
Yep.
know, I mean, I could list so many people, right?
John
But
Robbins.
John Robbins, right? They just have a knack for this. They've done it. And I always use the quote that 96 or no, 94% of all geologists will work their entire careers and never get credit for an economic discovery that becomes a producing mine, right? The other 6%, they make the discoveries over and over and over again. So I've learned in this business, you're greatly your chances of success if you find a guy like me that knows the 6%ers, right? I know these guys personally. I have dinner with them, lunch with them. I call them on the phone, right? We exchange information, right? When they do a deal, I'm in. And that doesn't mean we're going to make money all the time, but we make money more with those guys than anybody else.
Yeah. So understanding the DNA of these guys it sounds really important to you.
Oh, absolutely. They are the movers and shakers of this business. Like I always say, like, let's take Bill Sheriff, just case in point. I've watched this guy get handed the worst circumstances, and somehow he's in the back of the pickup truck going 100 miles an hour. He falls off the truck, lands on his feet running, and he's got it all rearranged and it all works out. I mean, it's
Mhm.
just over and over, not just once. I've seen it multiple times.
Yeah.
And
Very resourceful, right? Like he
unbelievable.
finds a way to make it work, right? Like
Yeah.
that's good on him. The tenacity there, it takes a lot,
Right. He
right?
gets a good thing all set up, and then all of a sudden the rug's pulled out, not from any fault of his own. The Canadian mining space pulls the rug out, says, oh, that $400 million power line up to the Yukon that we were going to build, we promised to build.
Mhm.
We're not doing it. Oh my gosh. Without that, what we're doing here is not going to work, right? So he
Yeah.
quickly shifts gears and goes a different direction.
Yeah. So do you think a function of how difficult our market is more red tape, more bureaucracy, or is it just a fundamental, hey, there's just not enough money out there for our sector right now because of these things?
It's
Or
all of the above. It's
yeah.
all of the above. It's the regulatory environment is so stupid. Like I had a situation, I don't want to get into it because it's a current, but I won't specifically identify it. But there's a permitting situation that is so ridiculous right now. This permit should have been had a year ago, right?
I
But
could
they
probably guess at like 10 of them and they'd all apply.
right. No, this is just so stupid. Part of the year in this property, there's a little stream that runs through the property. Otherwise, there's no water, right? There's no fish in it. There's no nothing. It's just a little drainage that happens a couple months of the year, right? Otherwise, it's dry. And they pulled the permit on this because, oh, you got to build a culvert over that area. Okay. So they do it. Well, why don't we have the permit now? It's still in the permitting phase, right? Everything else is fine, right? They've done everything correctly, right? Why are we still waiting? It's so frustrating.
Yeah, yeah. So that was 2024. What are you most excited about in 2025?
Well, when I saw this Justin Trudeau thing with the resignation, I thought, okay, finally, here's the change, right? Justin Trudeau and that Gerald Butts, that guy, they were friends, I guess, in college or something. They got in power and they were a disaster for Canada. And I can say it now, right? I wouldn't say it up in Canada, but as a speaker, but because I'm a United States citizen, I'm a guest there. I don't ever want to offend my Canadian audience up there, right?
You're welcome to come up here and say that anytime, brother. That's your ticket.
Well, that's always been my mode of operation. But anymore, look, I believe all of us, if we don't start to stand up and speak out what we believe, and the hell with the consequences, right? You got to stand up and speak out for what you think is right, and let the chips fall where they may. And I'm willing to do that because I'm at the end of my career. I'm just hoping this is the year where the change can finally happen. And I'm hearing for the first time where, yes, we need a leader in Canada that can get the wealth generator of the resource space going again,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise we're stuck. These big investors aren't coming back until they see that political insanity that has just tied down the resource space in such an awful way. That big money's not coming back till they do it. So they better get at it quick.
Right. Like this is our natural resources, right? We need to,
It's
we need to do it responsibly. Right.
Yes, but
And
nobody's trying to do it irresponsible. We've
yeah,
learned that lesson from the 50s and 60s when they did all those
yeah,
mine disasters and left the land in a lurch like that. Nobody's doing the wrong thing. Everybody's trying to do the right thing. So why are we tying everybody up with these crazy permits and all this regulatory stuff that just has hurt the industry to the point where we can't even function?
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, in today's world, when it seems like the only thing you see about mining in the media is a negative, right? Like, oh, this mining disaster, da da da. And when people challenge me when they hear I'm in the mining sector, I'm like, well, do you like to drink clean water? They're like, yeah. I'm like, well, can't have that without some mining. Like it's that fundamental. Never mind the phones. Never mind like the electronics. Like to the basics of our living, we need mining. So there has to be mining to take place. Period. That's my position.
Yeah, no, we used to do some of the newsletter writers. We used to do a presentation with a big shiny silver trash can up in front of the audience. I did it with, high school kids and things like that. A bunch of the other guys did it. I wasn't the guy that started it. It was, I forget, I think it was one of Doug Casey's guys that originally did it. But I thought it was so valuable. And you get in front of the group and you say, here, who has a bad opinion of mining, right? A bunch of hands go up. Why? Because in the public school system, they teach mining is bad. I said, okay, well, I'm gonna pass this shiny new trash can around, and I need everybody who's against mining to dump in your cell phones, your laptops, your Game Boys, whatever electronics you have, because without mining, you can't have anything, right? Any of this, right? Let alone the energy that's needed to power it, right? So after the 20, 30-minute presentation where I show them how many pounds of coal they're going to burn in their lives to power their devices, how much copper, nickel, lead, zinc they're going to need in their lives to have their houses, their cars. I mean, it totally turns them around, right? And so then by raise of hands, who here has a bad opinion of responsible mining? Not a hand goes up
Of course
because
not.
they had to get educated. And
Yeah.
it's simple to educate people, but so many people are still in the dark about mining.
Well, I don't think people are willing to be educated because they already have an opinion, right, of where it is, right? So then they just say, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I'm not willing to be educated because this is my opinion. This is what I've learned, and I'm not willing to actually look at the truth of this all.
Yeah,
That's
no.
my thoughts. Yeah. So
Hey, as I found in life, people don't want to know the truth. We live in the kingdom of lies and deception,
talk to
right?
me about that. Talk to me more about that.
Well, the kingdom of lies. Let's take a few examples. Okay, so like, let's take the World Economic Forum, right? Full of that is the kingdom of lies.
This is gonna be fun. Okay, go.
The United Nations. And so I've identified these people for who they are, and the string pullers of those organizations, right? That's who I call them the PTSB, the powers that shouldn't be. I'm not the one that coined that term, but there's a gentleman up in Montana that actually coined that, and I asked him if I could use it, and he said yes.
Love
But
it.
the kingdom of lies and deception, they don't want to know the truth. The truth is of what they say it is, right? They say, hey, there's carbon taxes. We need to charge carbon taxes because of climate change. They don't care what the truth is about climate change, right? The top 50 scientists already made that statement, right? There is no problem. There's no need for taxes because there's not a dang thing we can do about it, right? They prove that, and yet they just ignore that. They ignore the truth, right? And they get unsuspecting citizens to go along with it, hyping it like the world's coming to an end. You got to collect carbon taxes, right? It's all a scam. It's all a scam. They hate the truth. The kingdom of lies and deception hates the truth. And they even have to make laws to subdue the truth. This is where we are.
That's, you're right. That's the reality of it all.
This is what,
It,
and
it also starts in our school system, right? Like
oh,
these young children are taught from a very young age from the school system, which is, run by the government, to trust the government completely. Trust your banking system, trust the government,
yeah,
trust the powers that be.
yeah.
Right. So you're creating this massive like belief in something that isn't really speaking the truth in the first place. It's a never-ending disaster, if you ask me. So I guess my point is there, I think we need to be taught to question everything in our lives.
Absolutely. People know me as a truth seeker, right? They know that Greg always tries to get to the bottom line. What's the truth about this situation, right? And that's a hard position to take in life because of what you're saying. If you don't go along with their status quo kingdom of lies and deception, you're poo-pooed, man. We don't want
Oh,
you.
you're
Right?
chastised. Yeah,
You're
yeah.
chastised. And that's okay. I'm willing to be in that position. But yes, you have to think for yourself. We have to train people, teach people. For some reason, my mother instilled that in me. She said, be observant, observe what is really going on and to find out the truth of all things. I got educated on that. That the thing that I really cut my teeth on is at the end of the Vietnam War. I'm 68 this year. So I was when the Vietnam War ended, I was just getting ready to get my draft card, right? So I missed that by just 1 year. It all came to an end, or else I'd have been over there. So I always paid attention to stuff like that. Well, the truth was is that we left 1,200 of our guys behind, right? And they did that on purpose. They sent a bunch of them home as a goodwill gesture, but they kept 1,200 because it was going to be a negotiation for war reparations, right? And
Right.
the government just just glossed over it, right?
Wow. Yeah.
The evidence was overwhelming. And here, the United States of America left 1,200 of our guys behind. It's so disgusting. You want to just throw up, right? So I learned that was what, when I was a young person, I learned that governments lie, right?
Hmm. Well, they're
And
humans.
yeah, that they're going to lie to cover whatever their motivation is, right?
Yep.
And I learned what the motivations are, and I don't want to go into that now, but it was just, I'm trying to tell you, that's how I became a truth seeker because I knew governments lied, and I just got to the point where I call it the kingdom of lies,
Yeah, I
right?
like it. I like it
And
a
now the
lot.
kingdom of lies is really these guys that are trying to stuff down our throats, the central bank digital currency governed by a social credit score, the unelected WHO officials, World Health Organization, unelected WEF. Who the hell are these people?
Yeah.
Klaus Schwab? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Gag me, right?
You're absolutely right. I can go back to your we don't need to go into all the reason why they lie about everything, but it just comes down to one word for me. Power.
Power and control. It's
They just want
all
power, they just want power and control, period. Like that
power
just
and
all comes down to that, right?
we are in the way. The average citizen is in the way of what they want. They're so aggressive with it now, they don't even care what they're saying. They're saying the most outlandish things in public. They don't care because they know they have us by the BALLS, right? Um, Look, they have a kill switch on the internet. They have a kill switch on our phones. They have a kill switch on our cars. They have a kill switch on everything. So if we don't go along with it, they could make life very miserable, right? And I think when they have to do this central bank digital currency thing because the fiat currency scam, that's at the end.
It's over.
They can't
Period.
milk it anymore. They have to do the great reset, right?
Yeah.
They're struggling. The banks are in such awful situation on their books, right? They got all this bad loans on their books that they're not even accounting for yet. They know they have to, deal with that.
Yeah. Okay, so if we know they're all lying, we could either play victim and say, I can never make any money because of this. Or we can say, hey, we know we're all lying. I'm going to take that wisdom that I believe and make money. So I'm in the camp of the second way, right? Yeah, they're liars. Okay, I know I'm at a disadvantage of here. So how do I position myself because of that disadvantage? What are you looking for in 2025? Where are we putting our money?
Well, yeah, I mean, this goes to the point that Doug Casey used to make. I mean, how do we make money? A crisis brings opportunity. That was
100%.
that was Doug's mantra. And I always followed that. I believe that myself. And so we are coming to the crisis of our lifetimes we're in it already. We're already in it. It's only going to get worse, right? So how do you position yourself? I look at it, look, I believe that guys like Alistair McLeod, James Turk, Martin Armstrong, these guys are preaching, we're all preaching, the same message, right? I believe that the system of credit is going to seize in all of this. And you have to understand what credit is. It's the old JP Morgan quote, when he was asked by Congress in 1912, what is money, right? And he said, gold is money, right? Everything else is credit. And when you have to really understand that in our society, that is true. All fiat currencies are credit. There's some liability, there's some obligation, there's some derivative behind it, right? So owning that as what we're talking about, how do you get through all this insanity? You can't own anything that's credit, right? All the fiat currencies are going to collapse, right? At best, you're going to get switched out of the dollar or the Canadian dollar or whatever the currency is into the new central bank digital currency. But in the switcheroonie, you're going to find you lose 80% of the true purchasing power of your savings, right? That's baked in the cake. That's as sure as death and taxes. Most investors don't understand that. So, what else? Our stocks.
So I got I got a question about that. Then is buying stocks basically credit?
Credit, yes,
Yeah.
credit. It didn't used to be that way, but they shifted everything so that when you buy stock with your broker, right, it's just an IOU. They know that yes, you decided you were going to buy it this day, this stock at this price. Okay, we know that you own that, right? But they don't necessarily have to own the stock, right? You see, there's a liability, there's an obligation or a derivative behind the whole stock brokerage market industry, right? And so when push comes to shove, right? And so when credit seizes, right, everything operates in this world off a just-in-time 3-day inventory system that's dependent on that credit. So if there's no credit, credit seizes, the baker doesn't bake the bread. The truck driver can't drive to the store. You see what I'm saying? So what is the only thing left? Tangible assets, physical gold and silver that you take possession of, right? And look, people poo-poo me on that. I'm like, hey, just look at the research, do the research. For the last 25 years, gold is the best performing asset class of anything. It was at 253 an ounce in 2000. Now we're 2650.
Yeah. 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 That's a chart that doesn't lie.
It doesn't
It,
lie.
it, it does like that chart does not lie. The purchasing power of the US dollar continues to decline.
I
Period.
have
And there's
clients.
nothing you could say to me that would like challenge my or change my mind on that.
I
Right.
started Amerigold.com, AMERIGOLD.com, 1998. I sold my printing business. Because I'm considered a gold expert. I always studied the precious metals as a young man. I made as a kid in high school. I made a bunch of money in silver when silver did its thing, went to $55 from like 75 cents an ounce, right? Anyway, what I'm saying is that you have to be in these physical precious metals if you're going to be decimated. There's going to be a lot of wealthy people that when these changes come, if you don't own gold and silver, okay, you're going to lose the biggest part of your purchasing power, period. And people don't get this. So, aside from gold and silver, maybe raw land, you have to have something tangible, right? That doesn't have a derivative or a liability or some obligation behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
As the system collapses, those are the only things that are going to be left standing, the only investments that are going to be left standing. And Bitcoin, you want my opinion on Bitcoin?
Yeah, of course.
I think it's going to zero. I think it's a scam. I,
That's gonna be the title of this entire podcast. Bitcoin is a scam, Greg. I love it and I'll back it and I'll like it.
yeah. No, I mean, hey, look, I made some money. I remember I was hired to come up to the money show in Toronto, Canada when Bitcoin and all the crypto things just started. And I was there to talk about resources. I was paid to, and the audience revolted and said, no, we want you to talk about Bitcoin and crypto. I said, okay. I went with the flow. I said, my opinion is it's all designed to get people used to being in digital currency. crypto. And I believe the whole, I mean, there's evidence there. Go look it up for yourself. The whole Satoshi thing in Japan and all that. It's just, I mean, that was the CIA scam, to just get people into this, to get them used to trading this, right? And then once they get the CBDCs, they get us into the CBDCs. You watch what happens to this crypto. It'll just collapse because as good as the blockchain technology is, I think it's useful, could be useful in society. It could never be money, right?
Hmm.
Because the people that run this world, they control that. And unless they owned all the Bitcoin, there's no possible way Bitcoin can ever be money.
Right.
They won't allow it.
Yeah. That
And
makes a lot
so
of sense. Yeah.
I told people you can make money with crypto, but don't get greedy. I made some money on Bitcoin. I made some money on Litecoin, a couple others. I got out a couple years ago. No, this is coming to the end. Once these CBDCs get implemented in these countries, in the United States and Canada, it's over, I think.
Yeah.
So that's just my opinion.
Well, it was probably the top when my 18-year-old son came to me last week, said, "Hey, Dad, I just think it's really time for me to start buying Bitcoin."
At the
Okay.
top.
Okay, son, let's have a sit down. Clearly, I didn't do a very good job of being a father here over the last 20 years. Okay, so yeah, you love your gold and silver bullion. I agree with you. No arguments from me, my side, and my team here. But we also like to dabble a little bit in the market. So when you're talking to your subscribers about investing in these different junior mining companies, what's your criteria? What are you looking at?
Well, right now, I mean, it's tough times. I mean, the best of the best explorers, the six percenters, as I call them, right? They're sitting there going, Greg, I don't know what to do, right? They're barely able to raise enough money just to keep in business, let alone the money they need to go drill their projects effectively to make us a big discovery, right? So it just seems like the pendulum in life seems to swing, too far one way and then it has to go the other way, right?
Did you read the Mass Psychology by Jim Dines?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my
that
God, what a gem of a book. But
absolutely.
he talks about all this stuff, right? Like swinging left and going right, and you just do all these pendulums. It's just such reality right now. And what's interesting now is I think we've swung that far left, right? And now change
Yeah.
is happening, right? Trump getting put into power. I don't see a day ever where Trudeau and his posse of gangsters gets voted back in, like in my opinion. So I think there's big change coming here in North America.
And I do think that's going to be good just in time because these Canadian juniors, the best of the best guys are they're holding on by a thread,
They're on
right?
their hands and knees.
And unless the Canadian government I mean, they're going to have to do some emergency legislation, in my view, to rescue this industry. And
Hmm.
that's when I first started as a newsletter writer, I'd always point people to the Canadians. Man, the Canadians, of anybody in the world, they understand mining. They
Hmm.
understand engineering and how to build mines and better than any other group of people in the world. So I always pointed people, let's look to the Canadians. And I've made a fortune and my subscribers have done very well by investing in these Canadian junior mining stocks, especially like we said, the first 12 years. The last 13 years, it's been a rough patch. I was lucky enough to be involved with Great Bear Resources from the get-go. So my subscribers did exceptionally well in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we do come to Canada for natural resources and we go to Silicon Valley for tech,
Right.
right? Like we've got some of the best schools for mining and geology. I know Colorado's got some great schools as well, and things like that. But yeah, Vancouver, British Columbia, UBC, just world renowned for their geology courses, right? So
Right.
that
And
that's
I love Canada. I love going up and doing the site visits. It's such a beautiful country. And my
uh,
wife's Canadian, by the way.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, then I don't judge you too much, brother. Okay, while we're at it, if you feel comfortable giving some names just for people to do some their own homework on, what I certainly we are not advisors, we do not tell people to buy stocks, but if
Right.
there's some quality mine finders and some companies that you like the assets of, for people to look and do their own homework, I think my audience would appreciate a couple names.
Okay. Well, personally, I'm involved with one I really like called Pacific Empire Minerals. It's trading at 3 cents Canadian. right? It's a northern BC copper gold porphyry play that's getting ready to be drilled. Okay.
Yeah, is that Blaine's deal?
PEMC. No,
No,
that's
okay, sorry.
PEMC,
Okay.
Pacific Empire Metals Corp. Okay, that's the symbol. Another one I like, another Canadian guy that I follow. I've made money with this guy multiple times, right? His stock is at 2 cents right now. And Kevin Keogh. Look at Urano Energy, Bill Sheriff's uranium play. I mean, I've made so much money with Bill. Just the first uranium play I had, he got me in at 10 cents, like back in 2017. It's trading at $6 right now,
Ooh,
right?
that's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a
So
hundred bagger.
yeah, his current company is Urano Energy, URANO, Urano Energy, which is uh, I think going to do very well as well, and it's trading for like 10, 12 cents Canadian.
Yeah, 12 and a half cents, 13 cents Canadian. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now, you know, with Kevin's company and PEMC, look, they have the money. PMC has the money to drill, and they're going to drill this summer, right? Uh, Westward Gold in Nevada, right? That's WG. Um, love the story, just love it. I'm a big shareholder of all these things.
And that's the disclosure we all need that Greg's the shareholder of all these companies. Just
Yeah, yes, no, I've been a shareholder. I'm just holding, right?
yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, I've never seen it this bad for the best of the best guys in the business. I've watched Bill Sheriff just have to he doing his thing. He always just has to keep changing with whatever's going on just to try to stay alive, right? In the business. And he always does it. He always seems to come out on top.
Yeah. I'm looking live at PEMC as we are right now. I just want to see where they are in BC. Yeah,
I mean,
BC's been heating up, right? We had that American Eagle get that big investment from Southern 32, South 32. We've started to see some fantastic discoveries up in this area, in the Toodoggone area, BC. So yeah, BC is going to be interesting to follow too as well, I think.
no, and here's the thing, I've never seen such quality plays at such ridiculously low prices. These guys in a normal market, right? Their stocks would be 25 cents already, right? As they go to drill, and then as they go to drill, it goes to 50 cents, right? Here they're sitting at 2 cents.
Yeah, it's interesting how these, discoveries just become liquidity events, right? Like in a bear market, right? Because investors just need to move capital around, brokers need to get more commissions, right? So they look at all these different discoveries and like, oh my God, I can get out of the stock quickly and put money into something new. And yeah, we don't see a lot of patient investors over the last little while. I think that's what that 13-year bear market that we're talking about has really kind of instilled in a lot of investors. It's like, you don't have a lot of time to get in and get out of these things if you want to protect your capital. So if you are able to make money, people are just selling. Like, right. And then half the time when the stock comes free trading 4 months later, you're down anyways. And people are just selling that just to hold the warrant. Right. Yeah, it's just, seeing how the market has changed so much in the last 20 years like boggles my mind. Like the red tape now, it's almost like your entire country, right? When you red tape your country, you put your whole country into a mess. And I think that's what they've done with the exchange too, unfortunately.
So if we're really at that moment where things can change in Canada, then we're at an incredible moment of contrarian investing. This is the worst I've ever seen it in 45 years personally of trading these things. I have never seen the market worse. And yet, if as has to happen, why? If something has to happen, or else the world's going to run out of resources, right?
Yeah. Well, on November 21st last year, I threw up my hands and said I quit.
Yeah.
So that was probably a bottom too.
Well, yeah, I mean, if this is really the change that could really change things and bring all that investor money and interest back, my goodness, buying these things at current levels could be the trade of a lifetime.
Yeah, it really, really could. Hopefully, let's hope 2025 starts bringing that for some of us, for all of us, right? Like the mine
Yeah.
finders, the mine builders, the people that are doing it right, the people that are really adding value to their shareholders. I don't wish well the pump and dumpers out there. Okay, you guys can go to hell
Yeah,
because it's hurting us.
right.
Right. So, but the people that understand how to raise money capital, markets responsibly, and bring value for the shareholders. Let's rock and roll this year. That's going to
Yeah,
be a good year.
absolutely. I've been saying that I think the change is it's slow, but the change is underway. And when I saw that Justin Trudeau thing, I got encouraged. I thought, finally, finally something can change. And hopefully in Canada, I think Canadians are smart enough to change things politically very quickly to help the wealth generator of Canada.
Oh God, I hope so. Just honestly watching the smirk on his face as he was
Oh,
giving, like I literally like really like you're happy about this and you're
oh,
proud of what you've done. Like you've left our country in such a disaster,
a shambles, a shambles.
shambles, and you're literally going, haha, thank you so much, peace out. Like come
Peace
on,
out.
like it's killing me. Greg, awesome talk. That was rad. We'll see you in a few weeks in Vancouver, I'm sure.
Well, I won't be there for MIF in January. I'll be
Okay,
up there in March.
okay, for PDC.
Yeah,
Okay.
PDAC. Yeah, I always like to be there in January, but my knee surgery and some other things going on, I just couldn't make it. So
Yeah, okay. Well, take care of your health first, right? Health first
yeah,
and
no,
foremost. Yeah.
it's all good. I'll be up there in March for sure.
And then you and I can go down the rabbit hole in Toronto on whatever we want, whatever we'll start discussing. We didn't have four
Yeah,
hours today to bore my
well, that
audience, but
I think a lot's going to happen in just a few months here. I
hey,
think things
yeah,
could radically change very quickly here.
yeah, yeah. When we're all excited for change.
Yep,
Right on. Greg, thank you so much for your time today, buddy. We'll sign off from here.
been a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Cheers. Thanks so much for joining me on the show. You can stay up to date with Greg on social media and by subscribing to Mining Speculator at discoverynexus.com. You heard that he'll be at the PDC in Toronto. Now that you know what he looks like, I'm sure he'd say happy to say hi to you if you walk by. If you haven't already, be sure to join the Kinvestor Network by subscribing to our channel, following us on social media. Until next time, Arlen Hansen of the Kinvestor Report.